Former Jackson Mayor Chokwe Lumumba has resigned from the Mississippi bar following his guilty plea in the Jackson bribery scandal. Lumumba submitted his notice of irrevocable resignation from the bar. He stated he did not want to defend the complaint filed against him last month. The notice comes about a month after Lumumba pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy in connection with the bribery scheme. Lumumba is set to be sentenced in October. He faces up to 5 years in prison.